Welcome back, guys. In this video, we're going to be breaking down Diego Lopes versus Gene Silva card. That's a crazy matchup. Both fighters have done bits in the UFC so far, so I cannot wait to see who's going to come out on top in that one, and I cannot wait to speak to you about who I think is going to come out on top. You know we're going to go in depth on that matchup. We've also got Rob Font, the veteran, ultra veteran, taking on David Martinez, the complete opposite to a veteran, a surging prospect in a bantamweight division. We've got Gerald Gordon, ultra veteran again, taking on Rafa Garcia. Kelvin Gastelum, I mean, this seems to be the card of veterans, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. This is the official UFC Noche breakdown by Lucrative James. Let's run the intro and I'll see you on the other side for the breakdown. So welcome back, lads. Very excited to be back on your TV screens, back on your iPhone screens, back on your Samsung if you swing that way. And yeah, ready to break down these fights, man. Noche UFC seems like a decent card. Honestly, kind of like a lackluster card for the Noche perspective. Usually they stack these cards a little bit higher. But man, I'm still excited to talk about it. And anytime I can make money on UFC, I'm super happy about that, right? And talking about making money, we've been killing it, boys. Like, this year has been a dream, as I keep on saying. We're up over 100 units in 2025 already, which is something that I aim to do, and this is a lofty aim, but I aim to do it over 12 months. We did it in 6, so kind of amazing. And we've been on a 3-week win streak recently. Now, I can't give you the results for the Imavov card because this is recorded before the Imavov card, right? Hopefully we're going to win on that card, but regardless of that card, we've been on a 3-week win streak, and obviously, you know, an 8-month win streak. We've destroyed the year, but specifically we've crushed the last 3 weeks. There was an off week last week, but we still hate Dana White's Contender Series, where we cashed on Mandel Nallo as an underdog, as well as a bunch of other bets. And then the week before the off week, we won 10 units. So yeah, it's been a great win streak recently. There was only one losing card out of like 6 cards in that time span, and that was one UFC card. But we're 5-1, up hella units, and I'm looking forward to continuing that. And it's gonna start off by this breakdown. So we got Gene Silva taking on Diego Lopes. In my eyes, a #1 contenders matchup for the featherweight title after Lerone Murphy. So Diego Lopes has a 26-7 record, with Gene Silva having a 16-2 record. Currently, Gene Silva is the massive favorite at -300 odds, with the underdog price tag on Diego Lopes coming back at +250. This is a great fight, boys, and I honestly can touch on this fight in a multitude of ways, right? But I'm gonna keep this week's breakdown a little bit shorter than maybe some of the other breakdowns, because I have a full-length main event breakdown of this fight coming out on my YouTube channel in just 2 days' time, right? So definitely make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video, because that video will pop up, and I'm actually gonna go way more in depth and tell you specifically how we can make money on it. I'm still gonna do that here, just not as in depth. So one of the things that I realized when I was doing my tape study for this fight is that Gene Silva's gonna run through most of the division, right? I definitely realized that, because I mean, he's been running through fighters since the regional scene, and now he's doing it in the UFC, you know? You go back and you look at what he did to Drew Dober's face, you know, even though that was a doctor stoppage, he landed some big shots, man. You go back and look what he did to Melsik Bagdasarian with 1 shot. You go back and look what he did to Bryce Mitchell, just out-physicaled him, out-toughed him, out-manned him. The guy's a killer. He's an elite killer. But something I realized is that if you want to beat Gene Silva, you probably have to do what Pedro Enrique done back in 2017, back in the bantamweight division, which is Gene Silva's first loss of his career, right? So he was 2-0 going into that fight. He ended up losing a split decision. And the reason he lost it is because Pedro was basically walking him down the entire fight, especially in the later rounds, and just tanking all of Gene Silva's shots. So you need to have elite cardio. You need to be able to take the shots that Gene Silva's gonna put on your face and body, because he will do that. Pause. And you need to have some grappling upside, because Pedro Enrique was able to get a takedown there late in round 3, kind of established dominance, and probably won in the round in a split decision on the judges' scorecards. And I honestly feel like Diego Lopes has some of those traits. I mean, his chin seems absolutely insane. Go back to that Brito fight and watch the end of round 1. There's like 50 seconds left on the clock, and he takes a left hook from hell, and somehow he doesn't even blink, man. He ends up throwing shots of his own later in that round, you know? So the guy's got an elite chin. He seems to have elite cardio. Now, before the Volkanovski fight, I thought his cardio was kind of lackluster, right? Obviously, I thought he had good cardio, but I didn't think it was a strong point. in the Volkanovski fight, he's the one walking Volkanovski down in round 4 and round 5. He's the one landing big shots and knockdowns. It was very surprising for me to see that Volkanovski was the one on the back foot and not running away, not fading, but Volkanovski was not the one pressuring and breaking him down. Like, it was honestly almost the other way. So I was very surprised to see that. So if Diego Lopes rocks up with that cardio, with the same chin that I've always seen of him, man, he has a good chance to put some pause on Gene Silva here. And I have seen Gene Silva in some type of trouble in his career. I mean, Drew Dober landed a Superman punch. I believe it was in round 2. And it rocked Gene Silva a little bit. You know, Kevin Vallejos was landing big shots on Gene Silva as well. So it's not like he's impossible to land on. It's not like he's impossible to touch. He's just an extremely good fighter, you know? So I do think Diego Lopes can make this close in bursts here, especially with the skill set he has. Like I said, I think Diego Lopes is probably one of the toughest matchups for Gene Silva in the top 15. You know, I'd say he's top 3 to top 5 tough matchups in the top 15. There's some guys in the top 15 that Gene Silva's just gonna run through. I mean, I had a look at the rankings before I made this video, and boys, like, Gene Silva's gonna beat most of those guys. And I do think Diego Lopes has more of a chance than a lot of them. I'll just say that. Another thing we have to mention is that Diego Lopes is absolutely massive for the division, bigger than Gene Silva, and he's probably a much better grappler as well, right? So if he gets on top, you know, if he gets the back, who knows how Gene Silva's going to react to that, because we haven't really seen him in any type of grappling trouble ever. Now, Charles Jourdain was able to take him down multiple times, you know, but we haven't really seen him deal with a guy with elite submissions, really attacking the neck or switching from transition to transition, submission to submission. So that's something worth mentioning as well. It's like an X factor in the fight. But look, ultimately, boys, I'm going to have to side with Gene Silva on this one, right? I always like to bring up multiple points for you. One of the points I wanted to bring up was that Diego Lopes has a chance to win the matchup. You know, he has a chance to hurt Gene Silva. He has a chance to walk through some of the punches. But overall, I think Gene Silva is, first of all, way too accurate, precise, powerful, and fast, and creative and diverse, specifically with the striking for Diego Lopes to handle. I mean, I've seen Diego Lopes crack the bunch, and that's why I say his chin's really good. The only reason I know his chin's good because I've seen him crack the bunch, and I think Gene Silva's gonna crack him. I really do, especially early, man. Round 1 and round 2 could be very tough for Diego Lopes. I mean, if you go back and look at that Volkanovski fight, Diego Lopes was hurt only 2 times in that fight, right? Like properly, and it was round 1 and round 2. And I really think Gene Silva's gonna come out like a bat out of hell and try and get him out of there. And honestly, he took those punches from Volkanovski, but he was a little bit wobbled. I don't know if he's going to be able to take the same punches from Gene Silva, because I can tell you something now. Gene Silva hits harder, more precise, more accurate, and he's just a better striker than Alexander Volkanovski, in my opinion. So that's going to be my prediction for the fight, boys. It's going to be Gene Silva gets this win. Now, if he doesn't knock out Lopes, I think the later rounds, I think Lopes is going to come back and do some damage of his own, and we could get like a war, but I still feel Gene will edge it out, you know, maybe from damage, maybe from his banking the earlier rounds, maybe even from takedowns of his own, because, you know, I'll tell you this now, I've seen Diego Lopes taken down and controlled on the mat multiple times, boys, you know, in his earlier career on the regional scene when he got finished, but also in his Dana White's Contender Series fight against Joanderson Brito, and also in his UFC debut, and also in the Dan Ige fight. So, I mean, this guy has a propensity for basically lying on his back and losing minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if the fight IQ of Gene Silva comes out and maybe he gets a couple of takedowns, you know, in this fight to ride out some top time. Although that would be a dangerous place to be because, you know, Diego Lopes can create a lot of attacking submissions off his back. But overall, I'm siding with Gene Silva in this one, guys. As I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Watch my full-length breakdown in a couple of days if you want. But right now, as I make this video, I'm going to side with Gene Silva. I don't know whether he's going to get a knockout or decision. It's very tough for me to say that. I could see both, but I will say Gene Silva gets the win this weekend. The next fight on the card, and this is actually a rumored fight, right? It's not an official bout, but I'm still going to break it down because why not? You know, if it ends up being a real bout, I want to be able to have given you a breakdown on this fight because I want you to win, boys. I want you to beat the bookies. I want us to beat the bookies. So I think we can do it with this fight, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So it's Rob Font versus David Martinez. So Rob Font is coming into this fight with a record of 22 wins and 8 losses. David Martinez, on the other hand, coming into this fight with a record of 12 wins and only 1 loss. Now, look, this fight is rumored, so there is no odds out for this fight, but I'm assuming Rob Font will open up as the favorite favorite, although probably just a slight favorite. But man, who knows what these bookies will do and who knows where the market will push it to. It's kind of tough knowing how they're going to line a fight. But I'll just break down the fight for you. David Martinez is someone that I've been high on for a long time now. I actually bet him in his last fight against Simon Oliveira. I bet him to finish Oliveira. He did finish him. Unfortunately, I bet him to finish him in round 2 and round 3. And that was kind of annoying because there was like 10 seconds left on round 1 and he finished him. But I actually think this guy is a high level fighter. And I also think that the UFC think he's a high level fighter. And why do I say that? Because he might be fighting Rob Font. I mean, you ain't just going to put anyone in there against Rob Font. You're going to have big plans for them, like they did against Adrian Yanez or for Adrian Yanez. Like they believe that David Martinez could potentially beat Rob Font. Otherwise, I don't think they'd put him in a fight, because at the end of the day, he is from Mexico. He is the one that the UFC is trying to prop up here. And something I do want to mention, boys, is I tell you time and time again, it doesn't matter what the UFC want, right? And then I've seen, I think 1 or 2 comments from people saying like, yo, you say that it doesn't matter what the UFC want, but you say who the UFC want to win. You mention it. Well, there's 2 different things, right? We need to make a distinction. I'm going to tell you who I think the UFC want to win, if I think they want someone to win. But I'm also going to tell you, in the same vein, that we don't really care about that, because all we care about is our own study, because we believe we can predict the fights better than the UFC. If I didn't believe that, I shouldn't be doing this as a full-time profession. I shouldn't be trying to bet on MMA if I don't believe I can break down fights better than the UFC and the odds makers and every other expert that is betting into an MMA betting market. I believe I'm the best on the planet. If I didn't believe that, I shouldn't be in this game. I should quit, right? So while it's important to understand who the UFC want to win, just because it's more information, we don't take that as the end all be all and just say, yeah, because the UFC want him to win, he's going to win, right? But I do believe that the UFC either want David Martinez to win or believe he can, right? Like I said, he's from Mexico. This is a UFC Noche card. So they're pumping up these Mexican, South American fighters. And Rob Font at this point, I mean, you know, he's been there, done that. You know, he's been there, done that. He's fought at the top of the division. He's come unstuck a lot of the times. That just means he's lost those fights. They know his level now, right? He beats these prospects. He's the type of fighter who you put against these prospects, right? Kyler Phillips, Gene Matsumoto, David Martinez. And I actually have fairly strong take in this one. I'm hoping David Martinez is an underdog in this one. I'll be looking to bet David Martinez, right? When I look at this fight and when I watch tape study for this fight, David Martinez does a lot of things that Rob Font don't like, man. Does a lot of things that Rob Font don't like. Rob Font has beat his recent opponents because of forward pressure, boxing, veteran savvy, and not getting clipped on the chin, right? And I honestly feel like that's gonna play into David Martinez's hands. I mean, David Martinez has that karate stance, he's bouncing in and out of range. And if someone's just gonna walk forward and put a lot of pressure on him, one, it's a good thing to do because you can't stand on the outside with him, because look at what happened to Franklin in the Dana White's Contender Series fight. He got picked apart on the outside. When he pressured, it was a good game plan. He landed some boxing combinations, but guess what happens? If you don't pressure smartly, you're gonna get caught with some big shots. And I do feel like Rob Font will pressure smartly, but I just still think he's gonna get caught with some big shots, man. I think David Martinez is gonna chew up the legs of Rob Font. When Rob Font tries to close distance because he doesn't want his legs being chewed up, I think he's gonna get cracked with some big shots, man. I believe that David Martinez has the durability advantage in this fight. I think he has the power, maybe, advantage in this fight, or at least the striking dynamicism. And I don't care if that's not a word, because it is now. He's got the striking dynamicism advantage over Rob Font, meaning that if Rob Font comes in, he's just going to come in with a boxing game plan. All he has is boxing, really, right? But I think David Martinez can head kick him, right? I think David Martinez can elbow him, can knee him, can leg kick him, and can box him up as well, right? So I think David Martinez has such a wide skill set on the feet that he's going to be able to crack Rob Font at some point, right? And if he does, what happens to Rob Font? Oftentimes when he gets cracked, he does the stanky leg. Go back and watch some of these Marlon Vera highlights. Go back and watch some of them Jose Aldo highlights. You know, he gets hurt to the body, he gets hurt to the head, and he just gets hurt a lot. I don't think that's good against someone like David Martinez, because even if you beat David Martinez, I feel like he's still gonna crack you. He's still gonna crack you, and you're still gonna have to go through fire. And I don't know if Rob Font is built to go through fire at this stage of his career. I know he's had some good performances recently, but Kyler Phillips is a bad gasser. It's been the tale of his entire career, people. You know, Kyler Phillips has gassed out in his most recent fight against Vinicius Oliveira. He gassed out on the regional scene against Victor Henry, against Raulian Paiva. I mean, it's not a massive surprise that Rob Font was able to basically weather the early storm, but he got dominated in round 1. He got taken down, dominated easily, and then Kyler gassed out badly, you know. In the G Matsumoto fight, I think he lost it. You know, I genuinely scored the fight for Gene Matsumoto. So in my opinion, he's 1-1 in his last 2 and 2-5 in his last 7. He only has 2 wins out of his last 7 matchups, in my opinion. On the actual record, it's 3 wins in his last 7, right? And those losses have come against champions, you know, and the best in the division, outside of Corey Sandhagen, who may be a champion in a couple of weeks. But I mean, he still lost to Figueiredo, who I don't think, even in 2023, December was like that high level. He still lost to Marlon Vera, who, again, I don't think is that high level. And to be honest, we can say that David Martinez has a lot of similarities to Marlon Vera in this matchup. You know, the way Marlon Vera was able to land his head kicks and some of the kicks against Rob Font, I feel like David will be able to do that here. I just feel like the footwork of David Martinez is going to really trouble Rod Font. And I think there's going to be a breakout performance for David Martinez. You know, not a lot of people know him. I bet a lot of people watching this video right now don't even know who he is. And I'm saying that he's gonna beat Rob Font, who is, you know, a staple in the division, one of the best fighters in the division, just beat Gene Matsumoto, just beat Kyler Phillips, knocked out Adrian Yanez, who was meant to be an upcoming star. So it may be a hot take here, but I'm picking David Martinez outright, and I'm saying that he's gonna win against Rob Font. Will he knock him out? It's basically impossible to knock Rob Font out, even though the guy gets hurt in every loss, but you just can't knock him out. But at some point, he's going to get knocked out. So again, just like the Gene Silva fight, I'm not going to sit here and make a concrete prediction on knockout or decision. But what I will say is that David Martinez is going to win this fight, and that is my prediction for the fight. And I very much hope that we get this fight so I can be proved right or wrong. That's the game we play, and that's definitely the game I play, putting my predictions on YouTube every single week. But let's see, boys. David Martinez for the win, in my opinion. The next fight of the night is Jared Gordon versus Rafa Martinez. So Jared Gordon coming into this fight with a veteran record, 21 wins and 7 losses, with the record of Rafa Garcia sitting at 17 wins and only 4 losses. Currently, they got Jared Gordon sitting as the big favorite, -240, with the underdog price tag on Rafa Garcia coming back at +205. Good fight here, guys, and man, Jared Gordon is having a resurgence right now. You know what's funny, boys? I actually think Jared Gordon is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. But his official record only has 2 wins. But I'm going to go through them with you now, right? So his 5th fight back is a loss against Paddy Pimblett. Maybe I'm salty because I bet Jared Gordon at +200 odds and his decision line at +400 odds. But in my opinion, Jared Gordon won that fight. I've watched it multiple times. I still think Jared Gordon won that fight. You can tell me if I'm being salty in the comments below or you actually believe he won. But I think he won that fight. You know, so that's 1-0 on my scorecard. Then he fought Bobby Green, right? And that fight was a no contest due to a headbutt. But man, Jared Gordon was piecing up Bobby Green before that headbutt, right? And the headbutt completely changed the trajectory of the fight, and he ended up basically getting knocked out off the headbutt, and then the fight was called a no contest, right? But I mean, it's hard for me to call that a win. I'm maybe exaggerating a little bit just because I want to say 5-0 rather than 4-1 no contest. But Jared Gordon was cleanly winning the fight, cleanly winning the striking before that fight. And to be honest, man, seeing what's happened to Bobby Green over the last couple of years and seeing what's happened to Jared Gordon, I truly believe that if they run that back, Jared Gordon is the favorite in that fight and he wins the fight, right? So whatever, it's 2-0 on my scorecard now. He then knocked out Mark Madsen in round 1. And then the other loss is Nasrat Haqparast in a fight I believe he won again. Now again, I might be biased because I bet him in that fight, right? I bet him at +200 odds again, and I think he won, and I think he got robbed, right? Again, you guys can tell me if I'm being salty because of my bet, because, you know, boys, if you bet on someone, a lot of times you're biased towards that, right? So maybe I'm still biased towards that. I would be keen to hear you guys' opinion on who you think you won both of those fights. But yeah, I think he won that fight. That's 4-0 on my scorecard. And then obviously knocked out Thiago Moises in a fight I bet on him again. So I guess I just love betting on Jared Gordon, and maybe that's why I'm being biased. I like Jared Gordon in general. Shout out to Jared Gordon. But I think he's on a 5-fight win streak, 6-fight win streak, because he actually won the fight before the Paddy Pimblett fight. And it's going to be tough for Rafa Garcia to stop that here, man. It's going to be tough for Rafa Garcia to stop the Jared Gordon train, because I just feel like Jared Gordon's style is a bad matchup for Rafa Garcia. Because what does Rafa Garcia like to do? He likes to jab, win with his boxing, land some good, you know, boxing combinations, jab, 1-2, take you down, grind you out. What does Jared Gordon do? He likes to do the exact same thing, but better, and he has more tools on top of that because he has really good leg kicks, right? He has a better pace, he has better cardio, he has better level of competition, way more UFC experience, better takedowns, better grappling. Like, yeah, man, I just feel like Jared Gordon does what Rafa Garcia wants to do, but way better, you know? So my breakdown ain't gonna be long for this one, boys, you know? It's gonna be Jared Gordon wins the fight, right? It's going to be Jared Gordon adds to his 6-0 record. He goes 7-0, right? And yeah, that's it. I mean, is it going to be a finish or not? You know, late finish is possible, but Rafa Garcia is a tough motherfucker. That Nasrat Haqparast fight, which he took on his debut, I'm talking about Rafa Garcia now because they've both fought the same opponent. And by the way, you can go back and watch both of those fights to determine who's the better striker, to determine who's the better fighter in general. And look, MMA math doesn't always work, but if you have a common opponent, there was a big skill gap between Jared's performance, in my opinion, and Rafa Garcia's performance. I will say that was Garcia's debut, so, you know, maybe we give him a pass. But if you do go back and look at that fight, I mean, Haqparast is just jabbing his head and 1-2 in his head for the majority of the fight. And I mean, he never stops walking forward. The guy is extremely tough. Even in the Grant Dawson fight, which is his only finish loss of the UFC, he got badly brutalized in that fight, you know, and he still stayed kind of tough, you know. So it's going to be tough for me to say Jared Gordon's going to finish him, but this guy's on a solid finish streak in his wins recently. I just don't think it's going to come. I think it's more of a decision here. I think Jared Gordon's decision is a decent play, and I may even bet it myself. So that's it. Short and sharp with this prediction. I'm feeling pretty good about it. The next fight of the night is Kelvin Gastelum taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. So Kelvin Gastelum coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins and 10 losses. Dustin Stoltzfus' record is 16 wins with only 7 losses. Currently, there is no odds out for this fight, so the MMA market apparently is slacking for UFC Noche, but we're going to break the fight down anyway. Right, the first thing that stands out to me in this fight, and I oftentimes like to tell you guys the first thing that stands out to me, is that Kelvin Gastelum is taking a massive step down in competition here. You know, the last time he took a step down in competition, it probably wasn't even this far down, but he took on Daniel Rodriguez, you know, and he won that fight. It wasn't like a blowout performance, but he did win the fight. And it seems like that's what will happen again here. I mean, Kelvin has been fighting the best of the best, man. Like, even in his last 5-6 fights, you got Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, Sean Brady in there. Even in his, you know, other lower level fights, we've got Joe Pyfer in there, Chris Curtis, and people like that who, you know, they're probably a higher level than Dustin Stoltzfus. So maybe the step down in competition is going to be enough to where Kelvin just wins the fight. But stylistically, I feel like Stoltzfus can give him some troubles. And what I mean by that is, you know, he's a big, strong, physical guy, you know. And Dustin Stoltzfus has been reversed on the mat a lot of times, but he's also kept top position on the mat against some decent fighters. And I think that he can probably do that here at times. You know, Kelvin Gastelum has always had trouble with wrestlers. The issue is, I don't think Dustin Stoltzfus is a good enough wrestler to continually take him down, but maybe he can get 1 or 2 takedowns over the course of 15 and make the fight sketchy. You know, on the feet, I think Kelvin Gastelum's gonna win kinda cleanly. I mean, Stoltzfus can still crack him, you know, and we've seen Kelvin Gastelum crack badly in multiple fights, and he's still impossible to put away. But that Joe Pyfer one, he got hurt badly in that fight. And the other losses I mentioned, he got hurt badly in those fights as well. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Dustin Stoltzfus swings with him and hurts him, because Dustin Stoltzfus has an elite chin. Now, I also think Kelvin Gastelum can hurt him. So maybe we look for an under 2.5 rounds, or a fight doesn't go to a decision, something like that. But that's mainly on the Kelvin side, because, you know, he has shown more elite durability than Stoltzfus. But I do think just at some point they're going to exchange on the feet, and I think people are going to get rocked in this fight. You know, I'm pretty sure that either one or both of the fighters is going to get rocked from in boxing range in this fight. The reason I say that is just because the styles, the way they clash, I just feel like they're going to be open enough or exchange enough to get cracked on the feet, and someone's going to get hurt, right? So that's why I kind of lean in more to an under. Ultimately, I'm going to have to pick Kelvin Gastelum in this one. I don't have a strong read on it. I know Kelvin's going to be a big favorite, and I don't see an edge right now where I have a clean read on the fight. Like, boys, I gave you a clean breakdown for David Martinez versus Rob Font, right? I gave you a clean breakdown for Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. I even gave you a clean breakdown for the main event, you know. This one, I can't do it. Maybe I'll look into tape more. I'm almost certain I will look into tape study more, you know, so if you want to sign up to my servers, you're going to get all of my official picks predictions once I look into tape a bit more. But as it stands right now, I can't get a clean read on it. I feel like Kelvin's going to win the fight. I feel like Kelvin's the better striker. I feel like Kelvin's just as good as an offensive wrestler, so he can get top time himself. And Kelvin's just got way higher level experience, more UFC experience, more reps in the octagon, and I think that's going to be enough to get the win here. Does he knock out Stoltzfus? It's possible. He gets a round 1 or 2 KO. Ultimately, it's probably going to be a decision, kind of like the Rodriguez fight, where he doesn't blow you away, but he does enough to get the decision win. So that's my prediction for this fight. But like I said, I give myself justification at all times to change any of my predictions once I do more tape study, once I look into things a bit more, once I let my thoughts marinate. You know, these are early breakdowns, but they may not be my official final picks. So that's it, boys. Kelvin Gastelum to win the fight. And now we're going to do the Wheel of Fortune, boys. Lucrative Wheel of Fortune, where I give you a chance to win 1 month free to my Elite Zone, which is my VIP, where I give you all of my picks and predictions to cash out big. And make sure you stay tuned, because you, specifically you, can win 1 month free. All you need to do is leave a comment down below, a good comment, and you'll be automatically entered into next week's draw. And whoever I draw gets 1 month free. Even if you're in the Elite Zone already, you can still do it. I'll just extend your membership by 1 month for free. And trust me, you want to be inside this VIP, because we've been crushing it in 2025, crazy. So let's spin the Wheel of Fortune now and see who won. Here we go, boys. Let's go. All right, it's spinning. There's hella names. Every single week, the names increase. So we want to get an ASAP. All right, there we go. Silly Aussie. Congratulations, Silly Aussie. You just won 1 month free of the Lucrative Elite Zone. Read the description on how to claim your prize. And don't worry, if you haven't won, you can still sign up at sublaunch.com/lucrative MMA. And what you will get in the Elite Zone, this is what I do professionally, is I give you all of my picks, breakdowns of the entire card, predictions. I give you long shot parlays, long shot props, and tell you how to increase your bankroll from MMA betting week after week after week. You basically just copy everything I do. So it's a copy and paste service. So that's it, boys. Good luck this weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.